All right, thanks for staying with us, everyone. Finance Minister Dr. Chancellor Tuforson has announced plans to recapitalize all government-owned commercial banks by next year. The government has already taken the lead by injecting 1.4 billion cedis into the National Investment Bank. George Affe reports with more details.
The banks that are under consideration are Agricultural Development Bank, Consolidated Bank Ghana, and the National Investment Bank. Now, all these financial institutions, government has controlling interest together with other state institutions. Already, the Finance Ministry has moved quickly to support the National Investment Bank. Now, the swearing of the board members for these banks, Dr. Tuforson assured that the process should be completed by next year. But why is government moving quickly to take a decision on these banks? Well, the IMF is pushing government to decide on these financial institutions now. That is, move to support and restructure them to compete or shut them down or possibly merge them. Well, it looks like government went for the option of injecting fresh capital to put these commercial banks on a strong footing.
All right, joining me on Zoom, banking consultant Dr. Richmond Etuahene. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the marketplace. Well, first up, we want to deal with this news that the government is going to recapitalize some of the state-owned commercial banks. What do you think of that as a tool in restoring financial viability of struggling banks, especially in the context of Ghana's recent economic challenges?
Well, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your all cherished viewers. I think this restructuring or recapitalization was part of the agreement signed the ECF. At least NIB in the ECF document was supposed to be recapitalized. And I think after the program, they realized that ADB was also on the same trajectory. So they agreed with the IMF to restructure, recapitalize the two banks. And the good thing about this restructuring is that it needs to bring bring these two state banks into the banking stream, because currently our banking sector is being controlled by foreign banks, and it is not good for the industry. So for me, for the minister to have taken a bold decision to recapitalize it, I think, although it was part of the ECF, it is a good thing. And I believe that it will help us to strengthen the state and the private sector banks in Ghana so that we can compete equally. Currently, we have 23 banks. 14 of them are foreign. Then 9 are Ghanaian banks, state banks, SOEs. 4 of them are SOEs. But if they are not doing well, and I think it is in the step in the right direction, because other than that, we will sit here once again and the foreign banks will take over the economy. And the foreign banks, the reason why I agree with the minister and those who have decided to recapitalize is that we cannot sit in our country and let people come and have a controlling of the economy. Once they control the banks, they control the economy. And when they come in, the reason why I'm also passionate about it is that the reason why they come in, the foreign comes in, they buy treasury bills and bonds and declare huge profit. They don't go into the real economy, the real sector of the economy. And I believe it's this private-owned banks and the state-owned banks that will go into the economy to help us to turn around the economy.
Okay.
And to add to it, I mean, in the first document that came, the IMF insisted that once we inject capital into it, we need to up our corporate governance. And one thing the minister have done, which I want to commend him, if you look at the current board that he has just inaugurated yesterday, there are seasoned bankers in it, seasoned bankers. At least, I can count at least on 2 chairmen who are very, very, very good. They are competent, they are hard work, they know the industry. I don't want to mention Ken Thompson, and I don't want to mention Frank Edu. These are 2 good, competent people on the board. So for me, on the corporate governance level, they have passed it.
All right.
It's very good. Doc, because the problem is that.
Doc, I want you to hold that thought. I'll come back to you in a bit. I just want to take our viewers to Ablekuma North. You know there's a rerun there we are watching. Some new development from there because we understand the MPP parliamentary candidate Nana Ekwe-Friye is addressing the press. I want to take a listen to what she said, especially when there were indications she would not participate in tomorrow's polls. Take a listen.
This week, you had a press conference here, and the National Executive said they are pulling out of that election. That is tomorrow's
Nobody is.
election.
I am contesting.
You
See my people. You see the way. You see the way there. We are fully prepared. What prepared for? Tomorrow we are going for this contest. And in the first place, I want to say a big thank you to Almighty God for protecting us throughout the 7 months. We went for election on 7 December, and I won this election with 34,613. My opponent had 34,199. We collated this thing together. My polling agents, their polling agents, we went through all that. And we have now collated 278 polling stations. Those 278 polling stations, I am leading. I am leading with 349. 349. We were left with 3 polling stations. And then the Electoral Commission came to Parliament, swore under oath that we are left with 3 polling stations. Overnight, we didn't know what happened. And then they said we are going to go back and collate 19 polling stations. Now, what I want to say on or put on record is that darkness can never cover light. I am the light. I am the truth and the light. I walk with gracious God. I keep saying and mentioning God all the time that you can never cheat me and go scot-free. The Lord is going to talk tomorrow. Justice will prevail tomorrow. I am contesting. I want Ablekuma North. Everybody should hear me and hear my voice. I am contesting this election, and I am coming out victorious because I want that election, and God will ensure that justice prevails.
Why did it take you so long to confirm today? Because most people, they were waiting for you to come out.
Thank you. People were waiting for me to come out. Yeah. Now, what it is that I knew I had won. And so I was waiting for the right thing. So that's why we went to court. Now, when we went to court, the judge says, look, go and contest, as EC has said. It means I have to step up. Sure. I have to start, campaigning. Sure. And that is obvious. I mean, it's clear that if you had been the one, you will still exercise patience and wait for what the court will say. If the injunction had succeeded, that's fine. Then we'll go back to the drawing table. But now, please let me wait small. So after that, then I have to recoup myself, come back together and see. So when I realized that the support is so massive, people were coming here asking me to contest, not to withdraw. They are going to vote for me, and that they voted for me, and so I shouldn't relent. My dear, I won. I am not afraid of anybody. I am a politician. Yes. I am standing firm and go through this contest. And trust me, tomorrow you hear my name. The MP elect in Ablekuma North is Nana Ekuya Owusu every year.
All right, so breaking there in Ablekuma North, you had the MPP parliamentary candidate, Nana Ekuya saying she's going to contest. She's in the race. She says she is the light. She's confident of victory, doing a 360 after initially indicating she would not partake in the election rerun. But now, as you have seen with us, she says she's going to contest. And so tomorrow we have a match and you know where to keep it. right here on the Joy News channel. We will be covering that rerun for you. I believe you're still with me, Dr. Richmond Ituahene. Sorry, we had to go and do some politics, but we are back to business. We've been talking about the government's plans to inject some monies into several state-owned institutions or state-owned banks. We are making the point about the individuals who have been appointed to be part of boards of some of these banks. You think it was a good pick by the finance ministry?
Yes. If you look at the caliber of the people, the competencies and the abilities and the expertise, I think it's in the step in the right direction. We've had board previous and before all who really do not understand the business. They go in as board. But for you, for this time, seeing the two people I've mentioned, very, very able, knowledgeable people in the industry, and I believe they can steer the ship out of the crisis that they are in. And to add up to what I said about the governance, you know, the IMF in their document 24/335, it said that, do we continue with the business models? You know, the business models of these two state banks, ADB and NIB, are we prepared to let them do what they do, or they will reposition them to do what was actually instituted for, or what was actually instituted during Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's time? And I believe yesterday when I listened to the minister, he made a statement which I think is very good, that agric banks should be looking at the agric sector. And I believe it is the best thing that could happen to Ghana, because you cannot go into agric when you don't have financing, when you don't have expertise. And we are importing rice, we are importing maize, we are importing eggs, and we have a bank. So when I heard that they should be refocusing the business model on the original model, I think it's a very good thing and a very laudable thing. And the next one is about what he said about their risk management. Because they have a poor corporate governance practices, the risk management was very, very weak. Very weak. You have a bank like NIB, supposed to be in construction. They didn't have construction expert. Be they road construction or anything. So now, if you're going to change the model, then you strengthen, you build capacity, those who understand the areas that we should go. So for me, the World IMF document clearly says governance has been done, the risk must be done, then the model has to be changed to contribute to the growth of the economy. Other than that, we'll go back and come to square one.
You raised an important point about risk management. So I'm going to ask you what reforms need to accompany these capital injections into these banks so that there's long-term stability.
Well, they contribute massively to the sector, and you cannot leave them to go just like that. And this is not the first time. This is not the first time NIB has been recapitalized. If maybe you're young man, you don't understand. In the 80s, when we did the financial sector reforms, these things were done. But instead of we following the good practices to let them contribute to the economy, we just let them to do retail banking, universal banking, and what have you. So I believe that if the model should be changed and go back where Nkrumah stated, as the Dr. Kesel said, the finance minister said yesterday, we'll be on the right trajectory. And that will help us to improve the food, the roads, the construction, and what, because NIB is construction and industry, supporting the industry. So they will be able to understand, but on condition that they would strengthen their credit, their risk management practices. Other than that, come the next 5 years or 2 years, we've had the same thing happening to the banks.
Do you see any risk of political interference affecting the banks after they recapitalize, despite the finance minister's emphasis on professionalism?
Happy to tell you that if you have read the IMF document from June and December, they told the minister, then minister, that we are not going to support you to put politicians on the board. So I believe, and I've been told, reliably told, that certain people that have been picked representing the government are people who have been tried and tested. And I'm told, reliably informed, that some of them, it has to go to this professional accounting body to even select them. So they didn't just handpicked. I believe they were handpicking. They may not look at Ken Thompson and they may not do Frank Edu, because these are good guys who really, really, really understand. So it is not just that they wanted. It is something is imposition on us. So it is good, because the problem with Ghana banking system is about governance. And when the governance fail, the model will fail, and the risk management will fail, and the bank will fail. But if we are able to strengthen the governance as they started doing, I believe they're going to work hard. They're going to work hard. And if you listen to the minister, when you talk about CBG, he told them that this is not normal times. And the board there, you can see Steve Poji, Anyamsem. These are well-renowned people in banking. Poji is one of the tried-tested Ghanaians who have been in banks. And I believe with Mr. Anyamsem from BOG, who was also one time a director of BOG, they would help the banks to turn around. We need a turnaround. Other than that, we will sit here and the foreign banks will take over the economy. That is my only worry. That is my only worry. My worry is that the way they've taken mining, they've taken remittances, and they will take the banks. And when they take the bank, we will just have to play bed with them. So for me, if the government would be tough, allow them free space, allow the board free space to discuss issue without political intervention, these banks will turn around sooner or later. They will contribute. Let me repeat it. They will contribute direct to the economic growth of Ghana. You don't sit in Ghana import rice 1 billion. You don't sit in Ghana import chicken for 400 million. Other jurisdictions, other countries are doing it. La Côte d'Ivoire is doing it. Why can't we do it? So with this board, I believe we will go back to the banks will turn around and perform so that it can be said that, I mean, if you go to India, it is the state banks that are doing very well. When you go to India and see. But in Ghana, it tends to be. So I believe what the minister has done and will continue to do, this will go a long way to help these state banks to be up and doing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Richmond Etuahene. Fingers crossed, we are watching to see what happens after the recapitalization. I appreciate your time here on the marketplace. Taking a short break. When we come back, your views on our poll this Thursday. Don't go anywhere.
Let me come in.
Hi, welcome back to the marketplace. Should Ghana let the cedi float or keep it on a leash? Well, the IMF has cautioned the Bank of Ghana to reduce its interventions in the forex market. According to the IMF, excess FX intervention creates artificial strength and coldness with the economy. So we've been asking, where do you stand? Isaac Atasenyako has your answers this Thursday afternoon. And so, what are people saying? Well,
very interesting. I mean, right after the IMF, released the $367 million, tranche, amounting to 2.3 billion in total so far, they decided to caution the central bank to reduce or to stop the dollar influx in the market. Now, you realize that, and indeed, we've had this discussion before, Daryl. Some time ago, we ran a poll asking how Ghanaians feel about, the stability of the cedi and all of that. Everybody was excited. Everybody still is excited. But this is coming at a cost. And that's what the IMF is warning against, that if we don't control this, this could come at a cost. Now, the
central bank saying they've done their part in preserving the city's true value. The governor is saying that.
Exactly. Now he's saying that now that's all they are going to be doing, probably on the the influx or pushing in of dollars to support the cedi. But we don't know what will happen in the coming months as we enter the end of the year. We approach the end of the year, Daryl. Now, this professor here, Professor Isaac Boedi, who's the Dean of Faculty of Accounting and Finance at UPSC, has been speaking. He says that the IMF spoke sense and that the IERPP spoke truth, and that's exactly why the BOG and government turned a deaf ear to IERPP. Now, we asked on social media, first of all, LinkedIn, you see the results here. Necessary, we need stability. We had 59% voting in favor, and then also...
So what, they agree that the central bank should stop intervening?
Well, yes. So now you realize that let the CD find its real value is when we are asking if people would actually want the CD, its natural value to take effect from time to time. But those, or the majority vote is saying that the central bank should intervene. In fact, they should do whatever they have to ensure that the CD stabilizes.
On
Same
X.
On X. There is stability no matter what.
I think many people want the CD to be stable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So whatever you do to keep the CD stable, yeah.
Same on Facebook as well. I mean, it runs through. Everybody wants the city to be stable at all costs.
Do you have any comments?
Yes, a lot of comments. Now, Emmanuel Eli Klim says
that's long, like fees.
Very, very. What do they mean by artificial strength? Until our export outweighs our imports, nobody should lie to us. That is not good. As for the IMF, their gain is when a country suffers and runs to them for aid.
Don't we make the point about exports, right? We have to export more and import less. That's one way of keeping our currency in check.
Very important
Richard Kofi Abuah, they are not serious. We should be left alone to manage our economy as we deem fit. They unsuccessfully tried to do the same to Asian giants and failed miserably. More comments?
A lot of comments, but there's this one from Jacob Stearns. Now, he sent this on LinkedIn. He's a derivative or retired derivative specialist. Now, he says that the challenge for the cedi is that while a strong economy often supports a strong currency, factors like trade balance, inflation, and monetary policy are also crucial. However, FX market interventions are not helping the cedi. Instead, they deplete Ghana's foreign reserves, which may undermine long-term currency stability. Very interesting one, Darryl.
Yeah, one more comment, then we close. Marionette, maybe. If it was so easy to keep the cedi on a leash, why have we waited all these years? We have always tied the depreciation of the cedi to the lack of USD on the market. Now, BOG is able to meet the demand for USD. Why is the IMF complaining?
So a lot of people think that BOG should step in at all costs, Darryl.
All right. Great stuff. Interesting comments. Appreciate that you're here. Isaac Atasenyako. That's the marketplace. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. We will be back same time tomorrow. Goodbye.